welcome those that are visiting to Narrandera. I hope you enjoy your stay. And really only leaves me one thing to do. Just officially declare the 36th Annual Camellia Show open. Thank you very much.
Right, I'm Barry DeSalvia, currently the show secretary, used to be the Garden Club president, and in fact immediate past president of the national body, the Camellias Australia. We've got Camellia societies, I think 11 of them all over Australia, and there's a national body that coordinates them and makes them work together a little bit better. But yet, this is our 36th annual show at Narrandera, and a little bit down on blooms this year, I think, but on the whole it looks as though it's going to come up as quite a good show. The judging of the show, we've got two judges come down from Sydney. They belong to the New South Wales Camellia Research Society, and what they'll be looking at is comparing the blooms that are here today with the best of that particular variety. Now that means the judge will have to know something about probably 500 different varieties of camellia so that they know what they should look like. And so in about an hour's time they'll start moving around and they'll get a first and second prize in each class, and then we start looking at selecting the champion, which is comparing the best in each class to each other until we end up with a champion, reserve champion, best formal double, and so on. There's camellia classes. There's the single, which is just one layer of petals, and in fact for show purposes we've set a maximum of 8 petals, which makes it simple. They must be in one layer. As soon as you go to 2 layers, it's referred to as a semi-double, but they can also have 3 or 4 or even 5 layers, provided the stamens in the centre are still showing. Then when you come to the double has lots of layers of petals, and if it's a formal double, they're arranged nice and even and they cover the centre. There's no stamen showing. An informal double, you can see stamens, or there's actually 3 different types of doubles. And when it comes to semi-doubles, some of them don't go exactly as they should, so we call them irregular semi-doubles. They're almost perfect, but not quite. Probably horticulture, since Dad made me mow the lawn for the first time as a kid. I think I actually had something to do with camellias about 40 or 50 years ago when I was at Teachers College, and I visited a place in Newcastle, and there was this interesting looking flower, and I took a piece, took it home and grew a plant from it, and that was my first interest in camellias. When I married and we were at Narrandera, they had a camellia show. They'd been running for a few years, and we thought, oh, we've got a plant, we'll bring down a couple of blooms. We just happened to win the championship our very first time. The following year we won the championship again. From that point onwards we've been hooked on camellias. So we'd have about 300 different varieties of plants at home. They start flowering March, go through to about October, different plants. I think the main reason we like camellias is such a huge variety. There'd have to be probably 300 or 400 different varieties here today. They're big ones, they're little ones, they're perfumed, they're not perfumed. They're different forms, they come from different parts of the world. Australia produces their own. We've got a guy out here at the site from Wagga that produced his own Hazel's Gift, which was registered last year. Probably the one that's out at present. It used to be one called Fashionata, because that was what we won the first championship with. It's a bloom about 15-20 centimetres across, semi-double, apricot pink, and it's always a really good bloom to look at. That's often the favourite. There's another one called Shoko Nishiki, a special type called a Higo, which is a spectacular white and red splashes on it. But I think the favourite depends on what's out at present, really. They're all interesting. Camellias, well, they started in China for as far back as you can imagine. China, Japan. In fact, studies lately have shown probably they didn't even do that. They came from something more temperate, lower down. The Chinese prefer to think that they actually originated in China, and they're very, very, what would you say, touchy about being told otherwise. But Burma, perhaps, Vietnam's got a lot of the newer discovered species, and it's sort of mid-1800s they came out to Australia, and they've just grown ever since. This is our 36th show. The first show of camellias in Narrandera started when the Presbyterians, back in 1973, changed from a market day to an afternoon of fashion and flowers, and they had just a little display of camellias. The following year, a guy came down from Sydney and said, "Why don't you have a camellia show?" So the Presbyterians ran the first camellia show back in 1974. Then they formed a Camellia Society in Narrandera, which was part of the national, it was called the Riverina Camellia Society, which then changed into Narrandera Garden Club. So it's camellias plus everything else. And it's just sort of gone on from there, from a little show. I've been organising now for 25 years, and it started off as a little show with about 20 classes, and now we've got 70 odd. So it's grown into quite a big, starting from a small Presbyterian function.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
My favourite thing about camellias, I think the variety. There's so many, from the tiniest little ones to the great big reticulatas that are over there, and I really love the semi-doubles. They're the ones with the clear centres, and I also love the miniatures. Yes, so I love them all actually.
Well, I've actually been coming to Narrandera for a few years, and so that's one of the things just I enjoy coming down here, and I've been assisting with the judging for a few years, so it's special each year I come down here. I like the fact that there's quite a variety of colour and form that you can get in camellias, and unlike a lot of plants, they're relatively disease resistant, so it makes them pretty easy to look after. And they're very forgiving too. You don't look after them too well, they'll still flower, won't they?
Well, I know nothing about it, but I grow camellias. And I like them. And the show is very, very good. The weather and everything just got put up with. Yes, very good.
Camellias are relatively drought-proof, and that's good about them. Some people think natives are the only thing to grow. Camellias are worth their place. What I like about camellias, I've got a number plate from a car at home. It's a fake number plate, but the Americans gave it to you, and it says, "Camellias are for fun." And that's what camellias is about. It's lovely being involved with them.